Dogman at sundown. Or, I figured out how to keep Dogman away. Dear Scary Stories NYC, I think I figured out a way to protect your home from the Dogman, and I'll tell you about it in this email. At least it's worked for me for the last 6 months since I had my wintertime Dogman experiences just after last Thanksgiving. This is actually a pretty scary sequence of events that I lived through, but I wanted to announce that there is a happy ending before I even begin telling you about what went down between me and the North American upright walking canine, or Dogman. Most of the people in my office are back to work now, but that was not yet the case back at the end of last year. I myself was still working at home then. Even though it had been going on for well over a year, I had never gotten used to or comfortable with working in any of the rooms upstairs in the house I share with my partner. Finally, we traded office spaces, and I ended up working on the ground floor, on the side of the house toward the back. My window looked out on rose bushes, a lawn, and some trees, and I found the converted former library to be a good place to concentrate and really get some work done. That, in fact, was the case, as I worked with my back to the window until well after sunset each night. I had a truly strange feeling of being watched, but I enjoyed the warm feeling of the sun on my back more than I disliked that feeling. In fact, I think that because of being stuck alone working for so long, I kind of almost didn't mind the feeling of being watched. I guess I sort of got used to it, since I've always worked in open office spaces where everybody can see everybody else, and so chances are somebody's gonna be looking at you almost all the time, even if they don't mean to. So something in my nervous system was trying to warn me about something lurking behind me, but I was so lonely for any kind of interaction, I actually sort of welcomed the company. So then there came that night. The night when everything changed. Maybe evening is a better word. It was the end of the sunset, and the light in the room had turned very red. I truly enjoy those times of day. I understand why they call it magic hour in the film business. Sunrise or sunset, either of them are my favorite times of the day. Because of this, I tend to work a little bit into the sunset, allowing the room to darken before I finally cave in and turn on the room lights. Hey, if I have to work at home alone, then I can delay turning on the overhead lights as long as I want to. So, because all the lighting coming into the room was the red waning sunlight coming through the window behind me, I was extra conscious of what was happening when that red sunlight was suddenly being blocked out. Something or someone was standing in between me and that sun. Someone was standing behind me. I really was being watched. This alarming feeling made me stop what I was doing, but I was frozen. I wanted to turn around, but I also wanted to figure out what I was going to see before I did that. In my head, I went down the list of possible people that it might be. That list was short, and none of those people seemed likely to be doing what this one was. Finally, I couldn't take it any longer, and I turned around, suddenly and dramatically in my chair. This put me face to face with the one that I understood instantly had been watching me all that time. Not just that day, not just that week, but ever since I had moved my office downstairs. Entirely lit from behind by the setting sun, I saw something that walked straight out of the movies. It was a hairy, muscular man, and yet at the same time, it wasn't. A man, I mean. It was definitely hairy, and it was definitely muscular. I could see by the way its eyes seemed to glow from within that this was not a man. Not a human man, at least. There was no light coming from my office to light its face or chest, so I could not at first make out much detail, except about its outline, which was lit brightly in red. I could see his cheeks, though, and I could make out his brow ridge clearly, because there was a light shining out of those eyes. If it was reflected light, I'm uncertain where it might have been reflecting from. I know that there are no canines with eyes that are lit from within. I know it, and yet, that's what I saw. I mean, there are no canines that have wide humanoid shoulders either, and yet that's what I saw too. It confuses me to think about it, and it confuses me to talk about it, mainly because of the structure of our language. We talk about what species are native to an area. Someone sees a wolf, and they're told by experts that wolves don't live in that region. Maybe, after 10 more years of wolf sightings and wolf attacks, the official line might change and it might become official that wolves do live in the area. Until the official change comes, though, everyone seeing wolves gets labeled a crackpot. When it comes to seeing things like what I saw, there may never come a tipping point in which it becomes officially accepted as being real. The way the world seems to be going lately, I no longer really expect any more widening of humanity's knowledge pool. So there I was, staring at a naked animal man, who was staring back at me as though I were naked too. Either that or he was looking at me like I was prime ribs and a steak dinner, I'm not sure. I'm certain I saw hunger in that man-thing's eyes. I just don't honestly know which kind of a hunger he was looking to satiate. One way or another, I knew I was in some deep danger right there inside my own home. Now, my partner and housemate never comes into my office when I'm working. I mean, never. They text me instead. It's just our weird thing. We stay off each other's work turf, so that's one less thing to argue about. Anyway, that night, at that exact moment, for no reason that either of us have ever figured out, my housemate decided to lean in my door and ask what I wanted for dinner. Their presence at the doorway alarmed the Dogman, and I saw him race away toward the back of the house, where there's a small woods. The creature was all muscle and fur, claw and fangs. It looked no nonsense. But then there it had been, messing around outside my window. My partner did not get as clear a view as I did, but we both agreed we saw an enormous humanoid figure blocking out the evening sun, departing from the window at great speed. So we went upstairs where it for some reason felt safer, and I went through the entire story from the beginning just as I did with you. Now, when my housemate was using that same room as their office, they experienced none of this kind of phenomena. They never felt they were being watched, none of it. It's possible that they are not as sensitive to these things as I am, but it's also possible that the Dogman for some reason was just more interested in me. I do not really want to find out why. I don't think you can blame me for that either. So, the two of us stayed up almost till dawn reading and listening to stories about the Dogman. Nobody seemed to know how to get them to leave you alone in the stories that we heard. Some people had seen a Dogman one place, then moved, and found the Dogman followed them to their new home. The only way I noticed that Dogman would stop bothering a person he became fixated on was if that person took the lead in the situation and started trying to catch evidence of the presence of that thing. So that's why my partner and I invested in some trap cameras which we've hung up in various places around the property. In the first week, we found that the camera which points toward the window that the Dogman looked in at me through had gotten pulled down by something. It wasn't broken, it was just down on the ground. Since I put it back in place, it's remained there ever since. It fills up with boring pictures and video every time I get up to go to the bathroom or take a lunch break. Most of the movement it catches is me inside the window. It's never caught anything really interesting, although we have learned that the neighbor's cat walks through our yard at the same time every night. In other words, no Dogman. No upright walking canines. No canines down on all fours. No dogs or monsters of any kind. Granted, it's only been half a year. Maybe the Dogman is out migrating somewhere and won't be in our part of the country until Thanksgiving time. Well, if he comes back for Thanksgiving, we're going to get at least one picture of that guy. Hopefully some video too. And if I get some Dogman video that's real, I'm going to try to sell it to the Discovery Channel or Japanese TV or something. No offense, I'd love to share it with you, but if I get actual Dogman footage, it's going to the highest bidder, LOL. Maybe I'll sell it to Tim Pool on YouTube. Just kidding. Seriously, is proof of Dogman something that someone would even pay for? I don't even know. The only thing I do know is that this is how I handled my contact with Dogman at sundown. I would like to reassert that he's a badass, Fred Gilbert. Black or white or green or red, there's no one cooler than dear Fred. Please join us in thanking Fred Gilbert for making this episode possible. In exchange, he receives our cool perks, which we're all about to be schooled in by Henry Lee Dogman. Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button. Or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after, I think, 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.